Hello children, how are you doing? I hope you all are doing fine and are excited to start the first chapter looking back into the past. So, what we are going to learn from this chapter, my dear children, learning part is that we are going to learn about importance of history, sources of history and time frame in history. So, are you people excited to start the chapter? Let's start. History is the analysis and interpretation of the human past. It is an account of humans from the earliest period to the present day. It is a record of people, places and events, the rules, the government, the social and economic conditions of the past in chronological order. So, my dear children, I just want to tell you something. Please keep the pencil handy. What you have to do, you have to mention, you have to underline the important points, the important lines which will help you in attempting the questions and exercises as well. Right? The word history comes from the Greek word historia, which means narration of the past events. The scholars who help us to reconstruct the stories of the past, which is called historians. We call them historians. Importance of history. Now I am going to tell you the importance of history. Yes, my dear children, please be attentive. The study of history is very important to us because of the following. Let's read. It helps us in knowing our past. Through history, we can learn about our ancestors, their struggles and their achievements. It helps us to know about great kings, statesmen and all other heroes of the past as well as ordinary people. It provides us knowledge of the gradual process of evolution of man's civilization and culture. The study of history tells us about the origin and evolution of society, which is composed of different communities practicing different religions, languages, customs and traditions. And it helps us to understand the problems of the past and develop an understanding in us about the solution of present day problems in a better way. The study of history, if interpreted, wisely, inculcates in us a spirit of tolerance, peaceful coexistence and universal brotherhood. Right? Okay. So, now we have the 7th point. The study of history help us in building a new world free from all evils of the past. For example, slavery, racism, casteism, domination through waging wars, etc. And then the time frame in history. The early period of human history is known as the prehistorical period, right? For which no written record is available. Our knowledge of prehistorical period is based entirely on archaeology. History, on the other hand, is the recorded account of humans' progress across ages. The historical period is divided into 3 broad periods. The number 1, ancient, then medieval, and the third one is modern period. Each of these periods covers several centuries. The length of a period may differ from one part of the world to another. Did you know the Greek scholar Herodotus, who lived in the 5th century BC, is known as the father of history? In India, the ancient period stretches from the Harappans times to the reign of Harsha in the North India and Cholkas and the Pallavas in South India. The medieval period began around the 8th century AD and continued up to the 18th century. The modern period began henceforth. Dates in history. History deals with the story of humans past. To measure the long period of human history, historians have introduced the concept of birth of Christ as the focal point. The letter BC denotes before the common era. Like the word you are getting BC, it means it denotes before the common era, the period before the, birth of Christ. While AD denotes, Domini, since the birth of Christ. Did you know? Sometimes CE common era is used instead of AD and BCE before the common era. Instead of BC to mark dates in history, CE and AD have the same value 2006, CE is equal to 2006 AD. Similarly, BC and BCE also have the same value. The years in BC are counted backwards. For example, 100 BC comes before 99 BC, while the years in AD are counted forwards. Okay, those were counted backwards, these are counted forwards. For example, AD 100 comes after AD 99. If circa is added with any date, it denotes the probable date and not the exact one. The geographical framework, the environment greatly influences the actions of the humans. It signifies external factors or conditions which include its location, climate, natural vegetation, etc. These conditions influence the course of our political, economic, social and cultural history. Therefore, the history of India cannot be understood without a careful study of its physical features. India is divided primarily into 4 distinct geographical regions. The Himalayan regions forms a formidable wall in the north and have been a strong and powerful defense, against invasions from the north until the Chinese aggression in 1962. Unfortunately, there are a few passes in the northwest which have offered on, an easy passage to the Persian, Greeks, Kushans, Scythians, Sakas, Turks, Tartars, Mongols, etc. to invade India and establish their dominion over India. The great northern plains of the Indus, Sindhu, Ganga and Brahmaputra have been the principal theatre of Indian history. It was in the valley of the Indus that the earliest civilization, for example the Harappan, flourished. The Vedic civilization prospered in the Indo-Gangetic valley, also called North Indian plain. The great world religions, that is Hinduism, Jainism and Buddhism, were founded here. The region witnessed the rise of many kingdoms. The first empire, that is the Mauryan Empire, rose in the region only. The economic prosperity of the region has always allured in the invaders. Now, the Deccan Plateau, this is lying south of the Vindhya ranges, and the far south remained unaffected by the political upheavals of the north, as the dense forest and hills made communication difficult and posed a barrier to the invaders from the north. Southern India therefore remained isolated and thereby developed a culture of its own, which is known as the Dravidian culture. The coastal plains with an easy access to the sea have facilitated the growth of several kingdoms. Maritime trade, flourishing cities and ports. The kingdoms of this region traded and maintained cultural contacts with distant lands, Java, Sumatra, Burma, Myanmar, Siam, Thailand, and Indochina. It is to be noted here that the high ranges of the Himalayas and densely forested hills of central and south India have been the abode of several tribes who, being driven away by the invaders, took refuge in those secluded areas. For many centuries, these tribes living in isolation have maintained their distinct identity and preserved their unique culture. Let's do it. Make groups of 7 students, each in the class, and think of something that happened in the past but still affects us. Share your views in the class. You have to do this with the cooperation and coordination with others, right? Now we are going to know about sources of history. Historical sources enable us to reconstruct past history. There are 2 major types of historical sources. One is archaeological and another is literary. So now we have firstly I am going to tell you about archaeological sources. In prehistoric times, the art of writing had not yet developed. As such, there are no written records or documents of that period. We depend on archaeological evidences of that time, which include remains of monuments, coins, tablets, seals, pottery, tools, drawings, figurines, and images, etc. that were used by the ancient people. Archaeology, it is the study of the remains of the past. Archaeological remains are those objects and structures which were discovered after excavating in a site. And the archaeologist, on the basis of such objects, unveils the mysteries of the past. Our knowledge of the Indus Valley civilization is mostly based on such archaeological remains. Monuments. Monuments are old buildings or other old structures which are important for their historic connections or legacy. Historical buildings, whether in ruins or still standing, tell us about the life of people in ancient times. The exhibition sites at Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Hastinapur, etc. give us a glimpse of life in the past. The remains of the Nagaland and the Vikramshila universities, the Grand Stupa of Sachi and the Ashoka pillars, the Grand Stupa of Sachi, the Ashoka pillars, the Rathas at Mahabalipuram, etc. unveil our glorious past. Inscriptions and edicts. The writings engraved on rocks, stones, pillars, metal plates, clay tablets, etc. are called inscriptions. An edict is a royal command engraved on stones, pillars, etc. Some edict of Emperor Ashoka give us a lot of information about his achievement and socio-economic life of the people of his times. Similarly, the Hathigam inscription of Karavela and Junagadh, rock inscription of Rudradaman provide authentic information of those times. Coins. The study of coins is called numismatics. It throws a great deal of light on the ancient times. Coins made of different metals provide us information on the development of science and technology. The language engraved on them reveals the exact period to which the coin belongs. The pictures engraved on them throws light on the art, culture, society, religion, economy and administration of the period. The coins of Kushana and Gupta rulers throw a great deal of light on the religion and administration of those rulers. Now we are going to read about artifacts. This or works of art include sculptures and paintings. These helps us in reconstructing the cultural life of the ancient people. The specimen found at Takshila, Takshinashila belonging to the period of Kanishka threw light on the Gandhara art and religious beliefs of the Kushana kings. The images and paintings in the Ellora caves reveal the existences of contemporary sculptures of the Gupta period. The paintings and frescoes at Ajanta, Ellora and other places reveal the contemporary society, economy and art of that period. Let's do it. Imagine you were an archaeologist and have just made the discovery of an ancient site belonging to 2500 BC. Make a list of items that you have found at this site. Also note down what these items would have meant to the people of that period. Okay. Now you have literary sources. The Indians were indifferent to writing history, although they richly contributed to all branches of literature. Rudiments of history are preserved in our religious as well as secular literature. Thousands of years ago, when there was no paper to write on, our ancestors wrote on the dried bhojpatras, they used to have, and the bark of trees, plates of copper, etc. Earlier, the art of printing too was unknown. Our ancestors therefore wrote their accounts by hand. Such handwritten accounts are called manuscripts. Difference between manuscripts and inscriptions. So, manuscripts are the books from the past that give handwritten accounts, and inscriptions are engraved form of writing used various purposes. And manuscripts were written on leaves and barks of trees, and inscriptions were written on hard surfaces like stones. Now, literary sources include religious literature. The religious or sacred literature of India includes the Brahmanical literature, Vedas, Samritis, Upanishads, Puranas, Aranyakas, etc., Buddhist and Jain sacred texts and epics. The Rig Veda is the oldest work among the Brahmanical literature, and it elucidates the religious and social and economic life of the early Aryans. The later Vedas and Samhitas provide enough information on the life of the post-Vedic Aryans. The later Vedas and Samhitas provide enough information on life of the post-Vedic Aryans. The Samritis, composed mainly during the Gupta period, elucidate the social and religious life of the people of the Gupta period. Among the epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata are the most important, written by Maharishi Valmiki and Maharishi Vedavyas respectively. My dear children, please simultaneously underline the important information, like who had written this, so you can underline the names of them. Both epics have great religious importance for the Hindus. Among Buddhist literature, the Triptikakas are the oldest. They contain the religious views of the Buddha, rules of the Buddha Sangha and the Buddhist philosophy. The Jatakas are the stories of the lives of the Buddha in earlier births. The Mahavamsa and the Dipavamsa of Sri Lanka also throw a great deal of light on the ancient history of India. The Milinda Pana of Panho presents a philosophical dialogue between Menander and the Greek king and Nagasena and the Buddhist monk. Angas of the Jain also elucidate the contemporary society and the political and economical conditions of those days. Secular literature, it includes works other than the religious. The grammatical works of Panini's Ashtadhyayi and Patanjali's Mahabhashya contain valuable historical information of that period. Mudra Raksas, Mudra Raksas by Vishaka Dutt and Katha Sarita Sagar by Somdev and Brihat Katha Manjari by Shamendra elucidate some events of the Mauryan period. Kautilya's Arthashastra is a treatise on political science and statecraft during the Mauryan period. Nitisara by Kamandaka and elucidates the political system of the Guptas. Patanjali's Mahabhashya and Kalidasa's Malavikagni Mitra narrate the history of Sangha dynasty. Sundaraka's Mrichchakatika and Dandani's Dasakumar Charitra unveil the contemporary society. Among biographies, Harsh Charitra by Banabhatta narrates the achievements of Harsh Vardhana, and Vikraman Kadeva Charitra by Bilhana describes the achievements of Vikramaditya Harsh's plays. For example, Nagananda, Ratnavali and Priyadarshika throw a good deal of light on the conditions of India during his rule. Kalhana's Rajat Rangini, written in Sanskrit, traces the history of Kashmir up to the 12th century AD. Sangam literature in Tamil is a valuable source of information about the life and culture of Tamil people during the reign of the Chola and Pandyas rulers. Nandik Kalambakam narrates the achievements of the Pallava king Nandivarman III, while Kalinga Tupurani describes the invasion of Chola king Kulutunga on Kalinga. Travelers' accounts. A great deal of our knowledge of ancient Indian history comes from foreign travelers' accounts. Herodotus, the Greek historian, mentioned about India in his history. A great deal of our knowledge of ancient Indian history comes from foreign travelers' accounts. Herodotus, the Greek historian, mentioned about India in his history, but the most valuable contributions were made by foreigners who came to India. Megasthenes, the Greek ambassador who lived in the court of Chandragupta Maurya, wrote Indica, an account of India. Geography of India by Ptolemy about 130 AD, and the Periplus of Erythraean Sea by an unknown Greek author are important works on India. Chinese travelers like Fa Hian, Huan, Tsang and Ai Tsing have recorded valuable accounts of contemporary India. Muslim scholar Al-Biruni 1030 AD gave a vivid account of the literature, religion and social institutions of India in his famous book Tahqiq-e-Hind. The Venetian traveller Marco Polo has left a very interesting account of the social manners and customs of South India. Word brain, inculcate to make somebody learn. Circa used with reference to dates about approximately. Unveil, to show something new to the public for the first time. Rudiments, the most basic or important facts of a particular subject. Elucidate, to make something clearer by explaining it. So now bachcho, we have some exercises given based on our chapter information. So you have to attempt these exercises. In first one, what you have to do, you have to tick the correct answer. So some options are given. Among all these options, you have to choose the correct one. And in the second one, you have to fill in the blanks. These statements are taken from your chapter. Fill them according to the information given in your chapter. Write true or false in third one. You have to just check the information statement given. Statement is correct or not. You have to check that according to a chapter. If it is correct, write true, otherwise write false. Answer the following questions briefly. You have to mention in 3-4 lines this answer, and in the fifth one you have to answer in detail. Okay, so these questions you have to write, you have to describe them in detail. We have some skills enrichment zone where you have to quick response. Hidden in the word search are names of 8 sources of history. You have to find them. Okay. Fun activity, divide the class into 3 to 4 groups and discuss as Kautilya, Kalidas, Vedvyas and their works. Activities, some activities are given to you, bachcho. Imagine we were in the year 2021 and you are excavating the area around your present house. List down 10 items that you find in the course of your excavation. And find out about any 5 monuments you would want to discuss with your teacher as you like then. Now prepare a scrap file. Cut and paste the pictures of those monuments which you have selected and highlight your viewpoints. Okay. Now we have out of the box, why do you think the rulers in ancient times recorded their victories on hard surfaces like rocks and pillars? Think about and write it somewhere, mention it somewhere and have fun, enjoy.